y bienvenidos a la Daily Hustle. Soy Enrique Byrnes y presidente de su mejor cerveza. No Abate por No Filter Network. Miguelito San Dieguito not with us today. Will the Thrill not with us today. But in their spirit and to salute each and every single one of you as we come on here, most mornings. We pull out the foam fingers on this opening day and properly say good morning to each and every one of you. Yes, 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 yes. Woo. Remember this, folks. When we are juiceful, we are useful. And when we are juiceless, we are fucking useless. A very pleasant good morning to you on the 28th day of March, opening day 2024. Of course, we are brought to you by Bet Online, your number one online gambling destination. It is baseball season, so get ready to fire away all of your action at Bet Online. Don't forget about the NC2A tournament, rocking and rolling. We have the Sweet 16 starting tonight as well. Go to Bet Online to sign up and get 50% off your welcome bonus by using the promo code BLEAV, capital B-L-E-A-V. And also, let's not forget about our proud partners over at Verge Jewelry and Company. We bust one of these things open. Let's see, what is this? This is the honey ginger. This is my favorite one. Ooh, I think I need a little bit more of a shake up. It looks like there's some serious ginger floating around in here. But we shake it up. We go for a shot. Delicioso. All right. Our Daily Hustle email, as I told you guys yesterday, is back. After the Daily Hustle 22-day challenge, we actually went ahead and took a break for about a month. And needless to say, I write a lot. And I love writing, don't get me wrong. But to take a little bit of time away from the grind, the pain in the ass is not the writing. The pain in the ass is actually sending the fucker out. That gets to be a bit annoying, but I've gotten used to it using the MailChimp system. So we are back with those. This morning's email that went out was titled Opening Day. Buenos dias. Today is opening day, March 28th, 2024. Happy season. So 20 years ago exactly, I was playing for the A's, and we were just wrapping up spring training playing the annual Bay Bridge series against the Giants. I stepped into the batter's box at AT&T Park and immediately saw a high and tight fastball heading directly for my head. I attempted to spin out of the way, but it caught me flush in the temple and then fell to the ground. I specifically remember how quiet the stadium got as the catcher, umpire, and eventually head A's trainer Larry Davis hovered above. Ironically, it didn't hurt much, but I could feel the blood dripping from my head and tasted it in my mouth. I wanted to get up, but Larry was literally holding me down. After a big-ass rag was applied to attempt to stop the bleeding, in a brief conversation about where we were and the fact that the year was 2004, Larry summoned a cart to take me off the field. I was pissed. That's bullshit, Larry. I'm not getting in the cart. No fucking way. Well, before I knew it, yep, you guessed it, I was on the cart and headed down the left field line and eventually into the clubhouse, where the paramedics cleaned up the gaping wound and put in about 10 stitches. Later that night, they had my mom take me to her house and wake me up every hour on the hour to make sure things were all good. I then spent the entire next day over back in the Coliseum ensuring the A's that I was fine and begged them not to put me on the disabled list. On opening day, we played the Rangers in Oakland. I was not in the starting lineup, but I was on the roster, which seemed like a major win considering just 2 nights earlier, I was lying in a pool of blood. After a Mark Teixeira homer, we were down 4-3, headed to the bottom of the 8th inning with nasty right-hander Jeff Nelson on the mound for the Rangers. We pinch hit Billy McMillan for Damian Miller. The Rangers then went to the bullpen and summoned hard-throwing left-handed reliever Ron Mayhay. We countered by pinch-hitting me for Billy McMillan, and the battle was on. Bottom 8, down 1, 2 runners on, and the game on the line with 10 stitches in my head in my first at-bat after getting domed. What a fucking rush. I knew I needed to find a way to control my emotions, so I repeated a phrase that I would always tell myself in any big-time situation. Slow it down, see the ball. Slow it down, see the ball. When I stepped into the box, the same sort of silence I experienced a few nights earlier, lying on the ground, came over me as my complete and total focus was on 2 things: slowing it down and seeing the ball. Mayhay then reared back and unleashed his signature mid to upper 90s fastball, and I buggy whipped that motherfucker into the left field corner for a game-winning 2-run double. 20 years later, I can still feel the chills that engulfed my body as I stood on second base while the boys in the Dougie and the Oakland faithful in the stands went nuts. Looking back upon the wild couple days in my career and life, I cannot articulate how grateful I was, and I still am, to have experienced all of it. Per aspera ad astra is a famous Latin phrase meaning through hardship to the stars. And apparently, getting smoked in the head was just the right amount of aspera needed to head to the fucking stars on opening night in Oakland 20 years ago. EB. P.S. Click pick below to watch the opening day buggy whip, and blue link below to join today's opening day special Daily Hustle on No Filter Network. Okay, so I was able to dig up the footage. ESPN does a terrific job, and I don't even know if it's ESPN uploading them, but they have the old sports centers. So if you want to try to find a highlight over 20 years old plus, you can go back to YouTube and try to, if you can find the date, then you should be able to find the highlight. And it was super cool to go relive that moment. I had not seen that highlight clip since it happened. Now, that night I probably went home and dug myself on SportsCenter, of course. But since then, I hadn't seen it. And it's not like these things used to pop up and we record them or anything else. It was just, man, they happened and they went away. And if you want to try to pull them back up, it was really, really difficult. Well, super cool that I was able to find that. And I look back upon that. There was a lot that had gone on between the end of the 2003 season and losing to the Red Sox in what was a very difficult fashion. And then coming back in 2004, we had traded for Bobby Kilty, one of my favorite teammates of all time. But that also put me back on the bench, and I had to fight for everything I got. Now, every year I had to fight. Like, it wasn't anything new, so I was used to it. But I did eventually win my starting job back and then went on to hit 20, I think stole 17 that year. Whatever, here nor there. But that was the start of what was a really great season in Oakland. Unfortunately, we lost to the Angels, and we had a series with them at the end of the year. Whoever won the series was going to go to the playoffs, and we had a Friday night game that we ended up losing. And then the Saturday game they were up by, I want to say 1 run, maybe 2. There was definitely a runner on. Or actually, I don't know that. I do know that I was up as the tying or winning run, and I was facing Troy Percival, and I fucking crushed the ball to left field. And Jeff Devanna tells a story better than me because he was the left fielder that I, a couple years later, played with in Arizona. But he talks about how the ball literally like went over the fence and then came down and fell into his glove. He said he's never in his life experienced catching a ball like that. That would have been a home run that would have either tied or won the game. And it's just a heartbreaking way to end that 04 season. And then, of course, in 05, I was traded at the All-Star break to Baltimore. And did not bring it up yesterday. I still kind of a lot of the details and stuff coming in, but the Baltimore bridge collapse, what a heartbreaker. That was a bridge that I was able to see from the spot that we had at Spinnaker Bay in the Inner Harbor, and just it's tragic, absolutely tragic. Thoughts, prayers, all sorts of love to the families that of the guys that lost their life, the workers. It's just tragedy, man. So anyhow, happy opening day to everybody. This show is going to be very baseball focused. I'd say I don't know where to start, but I actually do, because opening day 2024, how every team could make the playoffs. That's the beauty of opening day. It is the fact that every single team enters today with the hopes of making the playoffs. Even the Colorado Rockies, even the Oakland A's, in their minds, they're making the fucking playoffs. That is what is so awesome about baseball. Now, is it likely that the A's or the Rockies make the playoffs? No. Is it possible? You're gosh damn right it is. So that is the beauty of this, the hope, the possibilities, the wonder. We don't know how the A's are going to be. As a matter of fact, they're projected to have more wins than two other teams, including the aforementioned Colorado Rockies and also the Washington Nationals. But I want you guys to understand that each and every one of these players that are entering the clubhouse today have every single fucking intention of making the playoffs. That's it. Now, we as outsiders will look at this and be like, oh, there's no chance. Yeah, yep. Yes and no. We've seen teams grossly underperform, but we've also seen teams dramatically overperform. So it is what it is, but it also is what it isn't. And as soon as we think we have all the answers, guess what? We have no fucking clue. That's why we play the games. And in baseball, a 162-game season, everyone says it's too long, it's too much. Fuck off. It's the perfect amount. I absolutely love it, because over the course of 162 games, you will inevitably have the best teams standing at the end. Now, the playoffs, that's a whole different story, because that becomes whoever is playing the best at the time. But the best teams in baseball will solidify themselves over the course of 162, which starts now. Boom. Like literally now. Games rocking and rolling, going off. It was a 10 a.m. Pacific time start. And here we go, because we have, hold on a second, 2 games already postponed. Are you shitting me? What happened? The Milwaukee Brewers are at the Mets. That game has been postponed. And the Atlanta Braves at the Philadelphia Phillies. Just a fantastic matchup, has been postponed as well. I have to believe that it is inclement weather that has delayed those two. Okay, let's rip through the projected win totals, starting at the top for each one of these teams. Some teams I'll spend a little bit more time on, and others I'll take not necessarily as much and hold tight here. I actually do. Look, see, the old school mic is badass, obviously, right? But the flexibility of being able to wear the headset and walk over here to open the door to get a little air in here on this brisk Thursday morning is exactly what I need. Okay. Atop the list, you know what? Let's work backwards because I mentioned the teams before. And this is the article claiming that, hey, all 30 teams could make it. The bottom barrel here, they have the very last team in Major League Baseball, the Washington Nationals, projected for 58 wins. A 58 and a 104 record is what they're anticipating. The historical analog is the 1991 Braves. Projected record, 75 and 87. Actual record, 94 and 68. So this is an explanation of how a projected record or projected team, say like the Braves in 91, who they expected to have only 75 wins, could actually go out and win 94 games. So 75, 85, 95, basically 20 wins more. Even if the Nationals had 20 wins more than projected, they're still only at 78 wins. Okay, it says not even the same projections, and Nats start from a different spot than Colorado. Pacoda's bleak thoughts on the Rockies align with the betting market. Colorado's over-under win totals sit right around 59. Washington, on the other hand, is thought to be closer to a 65-win team by Vegas. So we only need a team 30 games better than expectations and not 35. Phew. All right. The Colorado Rockies. Historical analog, the 2001 Seattle Mariners. They were projected for an 81 and 81 record. They went on to win 116 games. As the last answer suggests, we're veering off the Pacoda grid here. Since 2008, the lowest projected win total for a team that made the postseason is 71. That was a 2020 Marlins. But does that count because it was a COVID year? Only one team in our sample has been projected for fewer wins than 58 here for the Rockies. And the 2019 Orioles fell shy of the 57-win estimate, making them a less than ideal historical analog. So let's mix it up and look at a larger sample of preseason over-under win totals as it's set in Las Vegas. Now I can get it. Comparing this year's Rockies team to the most regular season wins in baseball history feels explicitly designed to shock you. Clickbait, as it were, buried 4,800 words into the article. But please follow my logic. Despite going to the ALCS the prior year, those Mariners had lost Alex Rodriguez in free agency, and most Vegas odds makers viewed them as a 500 team. Instead, they outperformed those modest expectations by a whopping 35 games. So that's the number. What is realistic and what, just from a historical reference, what is possible? They're saying that 35 wins over your projection. So in that case, let's just say 60. And if you go 35 wins over 60, that's 95. So theoretically, every single team literally could make the playoffs. The Oakland A's, here, this is an article in The Athletic, by the way. They are projected to win 64 games. If anything, this year's Athletics are one of the few teams in Major League history that enter the season in more depressing circumstances than cinema's favorite big league underdogs. You can quibble with Rachel Phelps' strategy, but at least she was initially coy about it. She didn't up and announce the team was going to Miami without a plan. And we doubt David Forrest has been scouting the California Penal League for a starter. But maybe Asturi Ruiz can be a speedster center fielder who catalyzes the offense. Shea Langoliers can be a younger version of a solid Major League backstop, that is. I mean, Brett Rooker wasn't great against curveballs, but he's starting from a better spot than Pedro Serrano, right? Get the cardboard cutouts of the owner ready. If the A's are able to make a run this year and just be in contention, if they could figure out a way to stay around 500 and at least be in the mix for a playoff spot, that would be fucking incredible. To take the double middle finger and put it up to the ownership group and to everybody else who is questioning this franchise and this organization. I'm sure Mark Kotsay and the boys in green and yellow would love nothing more than to do just that. I'm just not sure if they have the firepower. It says the 2002 Expos are probably the real world's best analog, but even they finished 7th in the AL. Okay. The White Sox projected for 66 wins. So, yes, we're comparing the White Sox to a team that made the expanded postseason of 2020. They're comparing them to that Marlins. I don't give a shit. The White Sox suck. Their fans suck, too. I told Chloe yesterday, worst fans of baseball, Chicago White Sox. And it's the truth. I don't necessarily think they're all bad people. They're just assholes. I've never before had been heckled harder than when I went to play in Comiskey. It would be during batting practice where they had the fence in the outfield where the fans could see through. And it was almost like this lounge area, though, that they had to be in order to watch BP from there. And there was this father and son. And the dad's like, yo, Byrnes, yo, give me a ball. And I just kind of take the ball, I throw it in. I mean, we're taking batting practice, right? And he goes, fuck you. I'm like, whoa, man. Jeez, your kid's right there. And then the kid looks at me, and the kid goes, fuck you. I'm like, you can't make this shit up. I went over and got one of my teammates. I forget who it was. But I'm like, go talk to these two. And it was a father-son combo that just happened to be the most, I don't know what you would call it, entitled pricks that I'd ever come across in the game. It was horrific. And then it also taught me a lesson that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it? So your kids are constantly mimicking your behavior. So let's give that title to of worst fans in baseball, Chicago White Sox. Good thing they're projected to have a dog shit year. All right, Kansas City Royals projected for 70 wins. I like the over on this. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. They showed flashes of brilliance with Bobby Witt Jr. I think this team is going to be a decent team. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? Not necessarily. But I wouldn't be shocked if all of a sudden they figured out a way to get into the mix. All right, the Pittsburgh Pirates projected for 73 wins. This is a very interesting team because you have Paul Skeens waiting in the wings. And if they are in contention at all, or they get to a point where they feel like they can make a run at the playoffs, I think you're going to see every one of Pittsburgh's young studs up and in the lineup doing everything they can to go ahead and get there. All right, the Los Angeles Angels projected for 74 wins. It says a Jim Thome home run. All right, so they're comparing this team to the 2008 White Sox that were projected to go 77 and 85. And they actually ended up winning 89 games. All right. Well, we'll see. Detroit Tigers. This is a very sleeper pick right now for a team that could sneak into the playoffs. AJ Hinch-led team is projected for 75 wins, a 75-87 record. They're comparing to the 2023 Baltimore Orioles, who were projected to go 75-87, yet instead they went 101-61 and won the AL East. Yes, some of us just burned in 2002 by believing in a Tigers team that had finished the prior season strong and boasted young talent on the way. Detroit flopped to 96 losses last year, opening up questions about how talented that youth core actually was. 2 years later, we have a better sense of what Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green can be. And Tariq Skubal started the spring as a dark horse Cy Young Award candidate and may end it as a front runner in the American League. The rotation in particular looks a lot stronger than it did a few years back, and the offense is a better place to weather Javier Baez's struggles. While I still take the under on 101 wins from Detroit of anyone in the AL, it has the most ingredients in common with that Baltimore team that improved by 18 wins last season. The Cincinnati Reds projected to go 78-84. This is another very sexy team with Elly La Cruz and all the young studs. It says Cincinnati's up-and-coming group of position players is as tantalizing as any in the National League. Elly La Cruz can do everything on a baseball field and was appointment viewing for stretches last summer, as he was arguably the fifth best rookie on his team. The pitching staff is not yet established, but plenty of arms that would not surprise you if they established by this time next year. The potential is there for Cincinnati, not just to jump the couple of wins necessary to make the playoffs, but to leap forward more dramatically to a division title and an October run. It's possible. That division's not great. You got the Brewers, you got the Cubs, but I just am not wholeheartedly convinced that there's any dominant group in there. The San Diego Padres projected to go 79-83. Let's see here. It says comparing the Padres, who after missing Xander Bogaerts and extending Manny Machado, Yu Darvish, and Joe Musgrove fell from 89 wins to 82. To those Rangers, borders on the disingenuous. Texas didn't trade Corey Seager when it went south the way San Diego just dealt Juan Soto. And it added a Cy Young Award winner instead of watching one leave. I mean, that's two big pieces that help you win games. Obviously, Blake Snell, the Cy Young Award winner, and then Juan Soto. At the same time, Texas was a 68-win team, and the Padres won 82 last year with a run differential of a team 10 games better. So basically, based on their run differential, they should have won 92 games. San Diego is starting from a much higher place, and the talent core looks a lot like the one that celebrated the season's final out last fall. I mean, really? They're comparing them to the 2023 Rangers. Maybe. Probably not. Milwaukee Brewers 79-83 is their projected as Pat Murphy, former Notre Dame coach, takes over the helm for Craig Counsell. Should be a relatively seamless transition. Murphy's been there the entire time. Counsell has, it says, a historical analog is the 2022 St. Louis Cardinals projected record 79-83, actual record 93-69. Milwaukee's expectations are lower thanks to the trade of Corbin Burnes and the injury to Brandon Woodruff. These are still stars here in Christian Yelich and Willy Adames, rotation anchor Freddie Peralta, and a track record of finding enough arms to get by when needed. The 2022 Cardinals, let's see here, received unexpectedly hefty contributions from Lars Nootbaar and Brandon Donovan. The Brewers could use similar production from talented young outfielder Jackson Chourio, Garrett Mitchell, and Sal Frelick. Yeah, I mean, look, it's certainly possible. Likely? I don't know. San Francisco, they have the Giants here projected for just 80 wins. I know the OU in Vegas is 83.5. They're comparing the Giants to the 2017 New York Yankees. Projected record was 80 and 82 for the Yankees. Their actual record was 91 and 71. In the middle of the last decade, the Yankees were in a weird place. They were still carrying the final contractual years of Alex Rodriguez and Mark Teixeira. They had supplemented free agents into their 30s. And the startling exception of Gary Sanchez, the best prospects had not debuted impressively. They were quite a bad team, but the ceiling was getting lower every year. And then New York started a quick reset at the 2016 trade deadline, and those younger players actually performed throughout 2017 to welcome a new competitive, if not yet championship winning era. The Giants are in a similar spot now. No one really thinks the Giants are bad. They're competent most everywhere. But the ceiling has crept lower because of the lack of star power on the roster. San Francisco tried to change that this winter. So late in the winter, it was actually spring with the additions of Jorge Soler, Matt Chapman, and Blake Snell. I mean, let's not forget Jung-Hoo Lee, too. The best case scenario, and Jordan Hicks, is that those additions, as well as the sign of Jung-Hoo Lee in the offseason, lift the Giants the way Sanchez and Aaron Judge. But I don't like the comparison here. I don't. I just love everything the Giants did. I think it's a playoff team. I would definitely take the over on the 80 wins they have here. I believe they get over the 83. There's a good chance they find themselves playing in October. Miami Marlins are projected for 80 wins. I said some were going to be stretches specifically. These teams don't look much alike. They're comparing the 2023 Marlins with the 2024 Marlins. I mean, it's the same fucking team, right? It's never the same exact team. But, yeah, I mean, it was a 84 and 78 wild card team. So the Marlins could be back. Boston Red Sox projected for 80 wins right here. We'll see. The Red Sox, it's possible. It says the similarities aren't necessarily great beyond that, although Boston is to exceed Pacoda's expectations here, which itself is 10 wins higher than most anyone else's in New England. It will need multiple. I speak English, I swear. It will need multiple breakouts from young players from the Mets. For the Mets, that was Jacob deGrom backing up his rookie season. Noah Syndergaard showing in his. So they're comparing them to the 2015 Mets that went all the way to the World Series. Anyhow, Cubs projected for 81 wins this season. The Cubs last season finished top 6 in the NL in offense and ERA. So that is plenty to believe that they could go ahead and step it up, especially with the addition of Craig Counsell, who is believed to be, by many, the best manager in the game. The Phillies projected for 84 wins. The Mets, 84 wins. Really? Pretty optimistic for the Mets. Guardians at 84. I don't necessarily buy that. Seattle, 85. St. Louis, 85. Texas, 86. The Diamondbacks, 86. I mean, how good is the NL West going to be? You got the Dodgers, who are arguably the best team in baseball. And then, after that, you got the Diamondbacks, who are the reigning National League champions. And then you have San Diego and San Francisco. The question is, how is Colorado going to win any fucking games? That might be the biggest issue here. And you know they're going to. I mean, it's tough to go into Coors Field. But it could be a long season for the Rockies. You certainly could see how and why that win total for the Rockies is way down there at 58. Okay, the Tampa Bay Rays are expected to win 87 games. The Orioles, 87. Is that low considering they won 101 games last year? And I think they've only gotten better. They added Corbin Burnes to the mix. I think they are definitely selling the O's short. Toronto's at 88. Minnesota. Let's see here. They're at 89. I mean, are the Twins that fucking good? Do I just not know? Huh. Maybe. We'll see. It says the Twins, no stranger to October, have already started the process with their wild card series sweep of Toronto last year. The best case scenario for this team builds off that momentum, perhaps with a healthier season from Byron Buxton and a deeper pitching staff. I don't know. New York Yankees projected for 94 wins. That's a big number. It is. I know Aaron Judge. Excuse me, not no Aaron Judge. No Garrett Cole. That's asking a lot. It says for those Yankees to get their first World Series in gas 15. They haven't been to the World Series in 15 years. They'll need their stars to shoulder the load. And they've got the players capable of doing it. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto in the lineup alongside Garrett Cole in the rotation once he's back and healthy. I mean, I'd say once he's back and healthy. Next thing you know, you blink and he can miss fucking 10 starts. So it's definitely asking a lot. The Houston Astros projected for 95 wins. Of course they are. Mentioned it yesterday, but it would be fun to see what Joey has spotted, my former teammate, Midland Rockhounds, Rock, taking over the helm. 95 and 67 is what they're expected. And then the Atlanta Braves at 101 and the Los Angeles Dodgers at 102. I don't know why I feel like I spent way too much time on that article. It just got complicated, like comparing. They're trying to make the case, okay, if they played X amount of games above where they're supposed to, and here's the historical comparison to a team that did what they could do, and if they do that, then they can make the playoffs, whatever. Onward and upward. 10 predictions. 10 bold predictions for the 2024 MLB season. The Mariners have the best rotation in baseball. Wow. This worked last year, so let's do it again. Maybe this isn't bold enough, but it's worth pointing out that the Mariners rotation is only fourth over at Fangraphs depth charts. It is not fourth when you consider the physical qualities of their pitchers. However, as Stuff Plus does, then it comes second to a behemoth. So why will the Mariners end up first? Silly things like park that's friendlier to pitchers, but also not so silly things like better command than their Southern California counterparts. Location Plus is a count and pitcher type adjusted measure of command. And though it hasn't shown to be a predictive as Stuff Plus, it has to be important on some level. New analysis from Alex Chamberlain provides us some hope that we can find command measures that are stickier year to year. And in the meantime, this one says that the Mariners' top four will have the second best stuff in baseball and the best command in baseball. That's a good formula. The prediction here is that the command savant, George Kirby's influence spreads, and the Mariners starters take their rightful place atop baseball. All right, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., this is bold prediction number 2, will be the American League most valuable player. This wouldn't have seemed bold in other seasons, but it's worth pointing out that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is not listed as a top 5 favorite for AL MVP. In most betting houses, our collective eyes are on guys like Aaron Judge, Julio Rodriguez, and Juan Soto. And that makes sense. Odds indicate that Corey Seager could make my 2023 bold prediction come true in 2024. Everyone's forgotten the guy who was a contender for a Triple Crown in 2021 and ended up second in the MVP to a superstar who just switched leagues. Vlad Jr. won a Gold Glove once, too. He's projected to be the 6th best hitter in the American League by the BAT-X. I mean, more of these metrics. But those projections say he'll hit more homers, 34, than he's hit since that glorious 2021 campaign. And it's fair to wonder if that version of the player isn't coming back. After all, the same system projected him to hit 42 homers in 2022 when he hit 32 and 35 homers in 2023 when he hit 26. More fool's gold? Yeah, possibly. Something is changing slowly under the hood of Vladdy's game. The guy who has always hit the ball super hard is slowly, ever so surely, starting to lift the ball. Here's the rolling 50 ball in play launch angle over his career, including the postseason and all of his data. So basically saying that because he's hitting the ball in the air more, this could translate. Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see. I'm surprised he's not a top 5 contender. If I had to pick an AL MVP right now heading into the season, Juan Soto. Guy stays healthy. He's young, just entering the prime of his career. I mean, remember, this guy was in the big leagues at fucking, 18, 19 years old. So here we are in his 6th season. I mean, that's when shit usually gets a lot easier for these guys and they really start figuring it out. I think Yankee Stadium will be a safe haven for him so long as he keeps that approach to the left center field gap and doesn't get pull happy. He will certainly be a top contender for AL MVP. That's Juan Soto. That's my pick. The Athletics pick, sneaky pick, and bold prediction is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Sean Murphy will be the best catcher in baseball. Over at Fangraphs, Ben Clemens was having some fun with a statistic he called womps per whiff. You won't see it listed anywhere other than here because that's a bit whimsy in it, obviously. But the idea was to look at who barreled the ball to the most per whiff. And of course, it produced a list of the best hitters in baseball. Oh, and look who else was in the top 15. It's a bit fun, but WPW, I do like this stat. The walls per whiff is twice as predictive going forward as something like their current league and park adjusted offensive production, WRC plus. And it does capture maybe 2 of the most important skills in modern baseball, the ability to make contact and hit the ball hard. Murphy's numbers here is almost twice the league average. This is probably particularly meaningful for Murphy because he had such a weird season with a 999 OPS in the first half and a 585 OPS in the second half. Possible explanations for fade include injuries and the Georgia Heat, and they certainly could impact Murphy again this year. The key takeaways from this list is that despite whatever it was that kept his results poor in the second half, he was still showing the core skills that made him an important player for the Braves to acquire. Take baseball's probable best defensive catcher, remove some bad injury luck, and turn more of those womps into homers, and you've got the best catcher in baseball. I don't think that far off with that one. But from a catching standpoint, look, it takes its toll. It does. I see it with the kids. It doesn't matter who's catching. Or whoever's catching for LTP, we try to space it out and really try to mix those guys in and out because it takes a toll offensively. It really, really, really does. And it's just more taxing on your legs. And you're asking more out of the kid. So I think if you have that statistical information on Sean Murphy, if you're the Braves, make sure you pace him out this year in which you won't have that massive drop in production in the second half. I used to have huge drop in production in the second half as well. And a lot of that was just the way I played the game. And the question becomes, how sustainable is it over the course of 162? So, anyhow, all right, the Yankees will have the top offense in the American League. This is not a bold prediction. It says they added Juan Soto, they added Alex Verdugo, Anthony Volpe has a year of adjustments in his rearview mirror. Anthony Rizzo should be back. Giancarlo Stanton had a great spring. There are things that you could point to that should improve this offense, but they were 25th in runs last year. So that is a bold prediction if they were 25th in runs last year. Could adding 2 guys and hoping for better health really rocket them up the list that much? In a word, yes, partially because they did things right under the hood and they should have had better outcomes last year. Take a look at their barrel rates and runs scored compared to other top barreling teams last season. They hit the ball hard and in the air and didn't score as many runs as the other teams did, even ones that played in cold, tough pitchers' parks. It's not like they didn't walk much. They were 6th in walks, or that they struck out too much. They were 10th most strikeouts, so maybe a little bit of it. Mostly they just didn't have the right guys healthy at the right time or the right hits at the right time and so on. In fact, this isn't very bold at all. They're promised or they're projected to be a top 5 offense, but it feels bold given how bad they were last year. Okay, the Pirates win a wild card spot. Again, we're going over 10 bold predictions for Major League Baseball this year per The Athletic. Cabrian Hayes lifted the ball this spring. 11-degree launch angle. Career average was 5 degrees until last year, which was a big part of his second half power surge. O'Neal Cruz hit the absolute snot out of the ball. 3 of the top 10 tracked exit velocities this spring, and he is once again healthy. Top pitching prospect Jarrett Jones just showed his nastiness. Top 10 spring stuff plus, and made the rotation. Henry Davis spent the winter working on his swing playing and smoked the most tracked line drives this spring. Look out for Henry Davis. Jack Sawinski, who does everything but make contact, struck out less than the league average this spring. The team added major league depth. They got Marco Gonzalez, Martin Perez, Eric Lauer, Domingo Germán, and Aroldis Chapman to the rotation and bullpen and free agency. Paul Skeens, possibly the best pitching prospect in baseball, is lurking in the high minors. I mentioned him earlier. And guess what? Andrew fucking McCutchen is back and still playing. Good for him. Was this year number 37 for McCutchen. Fangraphs has the Pirates winning 77 games, but this is a young team on the rise, and those team projections have 10-win error bars. On this same date last season, the Orioles and Diamondbacks were both projected for 78 wins. The Tigers' first-round picks are resurrected. This is another bold prediction. In 2016, the Tigers took high school pitcher Matt Manning in the first round. 2018, they went to college and took Casey Mize with the first pick of the draft. In the short 2020 draft, they took college bat Spencer Torkelson with the first overall pick. Picks this high are supposed to work out. They've combined for fewer than 4 wins since, meaning none of them have even shown average major league production for a full season. That's bullshit. Spencer Torkelson did like fucking 30 homers last year. That should change this year. The best power hitters pull their balls in the air, barrel the ball, and don't chase. Here are the 10 batters who did all 3 things at above average rate in more than 400 plate appearances. It's a good list. And if you add your contact rate, Torkelson would pull himself off the bottom of even that smaller list. Mize used his time rehabbing to change the shapes of his pitches and now has a plus 4-seamer in place of the fastballs he came in the big leagues with. The splitter is still there, and the breaking balls are both comfortably above average. The control wasn't always there this spring. It's a new mix, and he's coming off surgery as well. But he struck out 20 in 20 innings. That's a huge number. Manning's 4-seamer also looked good this spring, and his changeup was the best pitch by stuff metrics. All 3 breaking balls are still there, as well as his command of them. And though he was never known for striking guys out before, he got 19 strikeouts in 16 innings this spring. It's hard to strike out guys in spring training. It is. It's a lot harder. A lot of day games. Usually guys can see the ball pretty well, especially I know in Arizona. It said he didn't make the rotation, but is very much the next man up in a league that needs 6 starters for 100-plus innings on average. 4 wins combined so far. They'll get 6 this year alone. Yeah, I see that. I think Torkelson will get fucking 4 on his own. Christopher Morel is an all-star. Bold prediction here. I see the ball. I hit the ball hard, said Benito Santiago after he hit a game winner sometime when I was an impressionable lad. And though Christopher Morel doesn't always make contact, he does follow suit in these terms. Does he see the ball well? He chases on pitches outside the zone at about a league average rate. What he does do really well is swing at strikes. Robert Orr at Baseball Prospectus made a statistic that quantifies the fact that discipline is not about laying off bad pitches. It's also about swinging at good ones. Ooh, I like this. It's named Seager because of Corey Seager is the best at it naturally. And Morel is a top 50 hitter in Seager, which might surprise people, starting too big of a hole into his staring at too big a hole into his strikeout rate. And he hits the ball hard too. Here are the top 10 players, 25 and under, who had 400 or more plate appearances last season, ranked by their barrel rate, which is a strong predictive measure of batted ball power. Let's also include these players' maximum exit velocities as a measure of their raw power. That is a fun list of baseball's best young sluggers. It's fair to wonder about his defense, but it looks like the Cubs are going to give him a regular spot and let him play a ton. Early returns are mixed on his glove at third, but the resolve is there. Quote, we have high expectations for him. He does too, Cubs coach Jonathan Moda told Shadev Sharma about Morel's defense, but mistakes are going to happen. All right. The Red Sox have a top 5 American League rotation. Says Nick Pivetta did this in his last spring start. This is a video that I have no access to. Cutter Crawford is filthy, so I can see that. Tanner Houck, I guess is how you say it. Garrett Whitlock, Brian Bello. Yeah, they're good. Young Royals hitters fuel wild card run. I said this when we were going over the projected win totals. Start with raw power, maximum exit velocity, and game power barrel rate. Add in an attempt to define hit tool, swinging strike rate, and hard hit rate. And then throw in a dash of plate discipline, zone swing minus outside of zone swing. Call it the secret sauce since you used Z-scores to add it all up. Process Z, take every player under 26 and give them a Process Z score. Then count the number of young hitters each team has with the above average Process Z, and you'll get the Royals with 6, the Reds with 6, the Cardinals with 5, the Rangers and Tigers with 4s, and 6 teams with 3. Quote, those guys are blessed with physical talent to hit the ball hard, says Royal manager Matt Quattraro this spring. They have bat speed, they're strong, but it's also a byproduct of putting a good swing on the baseball. I don't try to do too much, says Nelson Velasquez, who doesn't have the raw power of some of his teammates, but gets to it on the regular. Pitchers are throwing 95 plus. If you do a 100% swing of power against 98 mile per hour fastballs, you have no chance. When you can control your power, you can hit the ball in the barrel more consistently. And that's what I focus on. I know I have the power. They know I have power. I have to find a way to put my swing at 70% in order to put the ball in play consistently. Okay, the deal with that is I used to always say 80 will get you 100. I don't think it's actually that you're swinging at 70, 80%, right? I think it's more you're swinging at 100%, but your mentality in your mind is 70, 80%, and you're doing whatever you can do to take the barrel of the bat and put it to the baseball. Loose muscles are quick muscles. Quick muscles, powerful muscles, ding-dong, Donkey Kongs. That's it. That's how it works. But as soon as you tense muscles like this, that's not your 100% swing. You're actually slowing your swing down. It said these young Royals, Bobby Witt Jr., MJ Melendez, Velasquez, Michael Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino, and Michael Massey hit the ball hard. The team has been trying to improve the pitching development process and has added a star pitcher, Cole Reagans, and some credible veterans, Michael Watkins, Seth Lugo, over the past couple of years. They even made some trades for relievers to help shore up the pen. There's something cooking in Kansas City, and it's not just burnt ends. Hey, I mean, they just keep following the Chiefs, right? I mean, at some point, they're going to have success there. They need more George Brett and Mike Sweeney involvement. Two Royals Hall of Famers that could put them over the top. As a matter of fact, bring in Mike Sweeney to manage the team and George Brett. Any combination of those two, and that'll do it. All right, the final prediction of the 10 bold predictions from The Athletic. A team will steal more than 200 bases this season. Is this bold? How about this? No team has managed this feat since the 1996 Rockies. But the rules changed recently and runners were successful 80% of the time last year. The break-even point is around 75% of the time. And the only natural conclusion is that teams will run more this season. They'll run until they hit that break-even point again. So I learned this with the A's. There's this point of diminishing returns, right? Anything under 75% is not worth running. But if you're over 75%, then it is worth running. And I think what teams understood last year is that with these new rules, and if you can rip bags at 80%, yeah, fuck yeah. Get rolling. This is great for the game of baseball. So the question is, who will do it? You want bonus points. The good news is that teams usually show their hand in the spring. And spring and temp rates carry over pretty well into the regular season. This is true. Here are the teams that have taken off the most this spring. Your leaders in the clubhouse are the Angels with Joe Adell, Zach Nato, Mickey Moniak, and Aaron Hicks. I think the Angels are going to be okay. The Nationals with Lane Thomas, C.J. Abrams, and their other young outfielders. And the Brewers, Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick, and Jackson Churio, taking off the most. So there's your prediction. C.J. Abrams will steal 75 himself. Huh. Well, we shall see. All right, a couple other things. Will Smith signs a long-term deal, 10 years, $140 million with the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is a fucking steal for the Dodgers. Said the deal includes a $30 million signing bonus. Smith will receive $15 million of the signing bonus in November of 2024 and the other $15 million in January of 25. And the pack will also include a portion of deferred compensation, $5 million per season, which will be paid out annually between 2034 and 43. I mean, these guys are killing it with these contracts. With the deal, Smith will become the fourth Dodger to be signed through at least 2032 after Mookie Betts' 12-year deal and Shohei Ohtani's historic 10-year deal, along with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the record 12 years. How do you give a fucking pitcher that never pitched a day in the big leagues 12 years? I still can't believe that. And he's going to be better than he was in his first start. But my goodness. I mean, it's one thing giving a position player that, to give a fucking pitcher that, who's never pitched a day in the big leagues? Aggressive. So Will Smith is going to be around for a very long time. Good on him. I was wondering, that AAV seemed a little low. So he gets the signing bonus out of that as well. All right. The other thing I want to bring up, because it's sad, and I'm really not an apologist for these guys that fuck up, whether it's Trevor Bauer or Aroldis Chapman or, in this case, Wander Franco. But there's an element of, are you going to lock these guys up and throw away the key? And obviously that's basically what has happened with Trevor Bauer when he was never convicted of a crime. Now, Wander Franco's situation is a little bit different. What that means, I don't know. I'm not privy to the specifics of what actually went down. But he has been removed from the 40-man roster of the Tampa Bay Rays. He's been placed on administrative leave. Just a disastrous situation in what is the prime years of the career of one of the best players in baseball. And I don't think if you're a casual baseball fan that you realize how good Wander Franco is. So the article reads here that Tampa Bay Rays shortstop Wander Franco has been placed back on administrative leave through June 1st as part of the joint agreement between MLB and MLBPA. A league source said Thursday the agreement was first reported by the Tampa Times. Franco, he's 23 years old. He's not played since August 12th when allegations surfaced about inappropriate relationship with a minor. According to prosecutors, testimony from the girl and testimony from other members of her family, Franco paid the girl's mother thousands of dollars in cash and other gifts in exchange for the mother's consent to engage in a sexual relationship with her daughter. The procedural move to place Franco on administrative leave allows the Rays to remove the shortstop, who signed a $182 million extension in 2021 from their 40-man roster. He spent the final weeks of last season on administrative leave, which Major League Baseball uses while a player is being investigated on the league's domestic